I almost left after 20 minutes. By the 25th minute, I had checked my phone so many times that the battery had dropped from 80% to 43%. The waiter had already asked twice if I wanted to order something besides water. The couple at the next table had finished their appetizers and moved on to dessert. Outside the restaurant window, a light spring rain tapped softly against the glass, and by the 30th minute, I was convinced my blind date wasn't coming. If you believe in kindness and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. My name is Nolan, and at 34, I wasn't exactly excited about blind dates anymore. This one had been arranged by my co-worker, Priya, who insisted her cousin would be perfect for me. She is funny, Priya had said, and she actually listens when people talk. I remember laughing at that. It sounded less like a compliment and more like a rare personality trait these days. The truth was, I hadn't dated seriously in almost 3 years. Between working as a physical therapist, helping my father after his hip surgery, and trying to keep up with rent in a city that seemed determined to empty my bank account every month, dating had slowly slipped to the bottom of my priorities. Still, something about Priya's confidence convinced me to say yes. So, there I sat at a small Italian restaurant called Harbour and Vine, wearing the only blazer I owned that didn't look wrinkled. 31 minutes late, I stood up and reached for my wallet. Then someone rushed through the front door. She looked slightly out of breath, her hair damp from the rain. She wore a pale blue dress under a grey coat and carried an expression somewhere between embarrassment and exhaustion. Her eyes found mine immediately. "I am so sorry," she said. Then she paused, studying my face for a second, and smiled. "You have kind eyes." Of all the things I expected to hear that night, it wasn't that. Not, "Sorry I am late." Not, "You must be Nolan." Not even "Traffic was terrible." Just that. "You have kind eyes." I didn't know what to say, so I laughed awkwardly and sat back down. Her name was Tessa. As we ordered dinner, she explained why she was late. Her younger brother had called during her drive. Their mother had recently started chemotherapy, and he was overwhelmed trying to manage everything at home. Tessa had pulled into a parking lot to calm him down. "I lost track of time," she admitted. "I almost turned around because I figured you'd leave." Honestly, I almost had, but there was something sincere about the way she said it. The conversation that followed wasn't magical. It wasn't perfect. There were awkward pauses. I accidentally knocked over my water glass. She admitted she hated small talk. I admitted I still used the same coffee maker I'd owned since college. But somewhere between the pasta and dessert, the evening started feeling comfortable. Tessa worked as a graphic designer for a non-profit. She loved old bookstores, hated alarm clocks, and always carried a notebook because she was afraid she'd forget good ideas. I learned she was the kind of person who remembered people's birthdays without Facebook reminders. The kind of person who returned shopping carts even when nobody was watching. The kind of person who noticed things. At one point, our waiter accidentally brought her the wrong meal. Most people would have complained. Tessa simply smiled and said, "No worries, everyone has rough days. Fonte honde." The waiter looked relieved. It was such a small moment that most people would forget it immediately. I didn't, because kindness often shows itself in tiny ways. As the evening continued, we talked about family. When I mentioned helping my father recover after surgery, she listened carefully, not waiting for her turn to speak, actually listening. That felt surprisingly rare. Near closing time, we walked outside together. The rain had stopped. The streets reflected the city lights, and the air smelled clean in that way it only does after a storm. We stood beside her car for a moment, neither of us rushing to leave. Then Tessa told me why she'd noticed my eyes when she first walked in. "When I arrived," she said, "you looked disappointed." I laughed. "Fair. Thought you weren't a monk all along. But you weren't angry." She shrugged. "I've spent a lot of time around stressed people lately. Most people wear frustration on their faces. You looked hurt, maybe, but not mean." I didn't know how to respond, because the truth was I'd been disappointed. But hearing her say that made me realize something. Kindness isn't pretending everything is okay. It is choosing not to pass your frustration onto someone else. We started seeing each other after that, slowly. No dramatic movie moments. No perfect fairy tale. Just coffee dates, grocery store runs, helping her mother during treatments, and long conversations that stretched past midnight. Life remained messy. Bills still arrived. Cars still broke down. Work still got stressful. But somehow those ordinary problems felt lighter when someone faced them with you. Comment: kindness still exists, if you believe even one good act can change someone's life. A year later, Tessa gave me a small framed note she'd written. Inside were only 4 words. You have kind eyes. Not because my eyes looked special, but because that simple observation reminded me that people notice more than we think. The way we treat strangers, the patience we show when nobody rewards it, the grace we offer when life makes us tired. If this story touched your heart, please leave a like and share it with someone who still believes kindness matters. Because sometimes the most important thing we give another person isn't money, advice, or grand gestures. Sometimes it is simply choosing kindness during an ordinary moment when nobody expects it. And every now and then, that small choice becomes the beginning of something beautiful.